So you remember Bob Ferguson came out and acted like a moderate and gave his first speech to the legislature saying we're going to speed up the pace of government and we're going to make sure that we cut red tape and we cut bureaucracy and we make sure that important things and our constituents are served better. Well, he is making good on that promise. I'm so proud of him. I'm so excited about this because cutting bureaucracy and red tape for people who are out there trying to get permits, trying to build houses, trying to do all these important things in their lives, that's great. Everyone should support this. Well, let's see. What is Bob Ferguson's first big win for cutting government bureaucracy? Here it is. Very proud to announce the Department of Health will now process all requests to change gender designation on birth certificates within 3 business days. Previously, there was as much of a 10-month wait. And then he says a team of more than a dozen people worked through the weekend to clear the department's backlog of more than 500 requests. We're speeding up government and centering the people. Think about this for a second. He makes this big deal of we're going to cut government bureaucracy and red tape for people. We're speeding up government and centering the people. He is literally bragging that a team of government employees worked around the clock over the weekend so that you can more quickly change the gender on your birth certificate. So the obvious criticism is that is your priority. Everything happening in the state of Washington, the homeless crisis, the fentanyl crisis, the crime crisis, and you're bragging about dedicating a team of government workers to work around the clock to clear the backlog of requests from people who want to change the gender on their birth certificate. It is so tone deaf. You could have used that team of people to work around the clock on the weekend trying to get help to people who are living on the streets. You could have used that team of people around the clock over the weekend to try to get help and connect people who are suffering from fentanyl addiction on the streets to services. There are a million ways you could use a team of government workers around the clock to help better the lives of Washingtonians. And instead, you are so proud and virtue signaling that one of your first big actions to cut red tape and bureaucracy is to make it easier for people to change the gender on their birth certificates. You must be kidding me. And they're so proud of it. The Department of Health is the first entity that put this out. We're expediting sex designation change requests on birth certificates. People born in Washington who want to change the sex designation on their birth certificate can do so by filing a request with us. The request will be processed within 3 business days, an expedited rate, plus delivery and mail time. Following the science again, I see. The Washington Department of Health, which has already lost all credibility, clearly has no care to regain it, because the Department of Health is prioritizing, the thing it is prioritizing right now is expediting requests to change the gender on your birth certificate. And of course, this is all about Donald Trump. This is all about Donald Trump saying in the federal government there's 2 genders, men and women, and trying to change some of this ridiculousness around boys competing in girls' sports. And so if you go back and now you have, it's about hiding transgender people, I think. So you go back, it's like, well, let me see your birth certificate. Well, the birth certificate says a woman, I guess it's a woman. It's so truly insane. It's not science. I posted this on Instagram and some other places late last night when Bob Ferguson first pushed it out there like, yay is me. Oh my God. Some of the comments on his Facebook post just made me depressed because people were cheering him on like, thank you, Governor. This is going to save lives. And I'm like, oh my God, they're crazy. But then I was reading comments from people on Instagram who were talking about all the types of things that they've been waiting months or years for assistance from state government for certain certificates that they need for work. I heard from this dad, he said, yet I'm still waiting for my daughter's birth certificate to have a name spelling error fixed, which he first applied for in May of last year. So the state spelled his daughter's name wrong on her birth certificate. He asked last May for it to be fixed, and he's still waiting for that. But if you want to go back and change your gender, the state will expedite that in 3 days. What did the Department of Health say? Plus delivery and mail time. 3 days. You can do it overnight. All because, Donald Trump, it's so scary. People have to be able to change their gender on their birth certificate or they'll be hunted down as trans people, which isn't happening, of course. Now, he doesn't want them to play in boys and girls athletics if they're boys. So what will this mean? If you go to college, NCAA, and you have a birth certificate that says that you're a girl, what are they going to do then? I mean, I guess you'd have to do some sort of, if there's a question of it, some sort of testing or physical examination of some kind. This is truly insane. Bob has shed all of the fake moderacy because all he's focused on for everything he said during his inaugural address, for everything he said, all he's focused on is the same stuff he focused on for the last 8 years, which was Donald Trump is horrible. We're going to attack Donald Trump. We're going to push back against everything that Donald Trump is doing. We're going to Trump-proof Washington State. We're going to protect transgender people. And meanwhile, everyone else is like suffering under the weight of high taxes. And this is also what I would say. When he says, we're speeding up government and centering the people. No, you're centering a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction. Tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the people. You're giving them preferential treatment to do something that is out of line with science and that makes no sense. But that's one of the chief frustrations, is all these groups that they say are marginalized are anything but marginalized in Washington State. Are anything but marginalized. Yet he's showing that they're going to continue to get preferential treatment because they're gender diverse or whatever it is. I don't know when people in Washington State will wake up, but in case you were wondering what steps Bob Ferguson was going to take to cut red tape and government bureaucracy, that's it. Absolutely unbelievable.